Welcome to the AI Draft on the Cerebral Valley Podcast. I'm Eric Newcomer. We've got probably my favorite episode of the year coming up for you. We're about to pick what we think will be the most valuable AI companies. And 4 years from now, this is a follow-up from our draft a year ago, but we'll catch you up on everything that happened last year. We'll be picking a bunch of new companies. I'm here with James Wilsterman.
Hey, Eric. Happy to be here. Excited for the draft.
James is the brain behind the draft. He'll explain it in a second. And Max Child.
Hello.
Super excited. A very contentious game of forecasting the top companies in AI ahead of the Cerebral Valley AI Summit on November 20th in San Francisco. This is our way of thinking about all the top companies in AI before we host the AI Insider event of the year. All that said, James, do you want to tell everybody the rules so they know why and how we're operating here?
Buckle in. It's a complicated set of rules, so I will try to go through them efficiently. If you recall from last year, some of you may have listened to that episode. We drafted teams, as Eric said. We drafted the top private companies in AI. We're all looking to create a team of companies that by the end of 2028 will have the highest value on either sort of a private market valuation, an exit, or an IPO. So just to caveat a few different rules there, last year we each drafted 5 teams. And in order to get the first pick, we agreed that you'd have to take a big handicap because there was such an outlier pick with OpenAI last year. So we agreed that Eric, by drafting OpenAI first, would have to take a $75 billion handicap.
We had an auction for that. So I paid the most for the right.
How are you feeling about that decision in retrospect?
Excellent. Genius. I'm dominating right now.
Yeah, Eric's team's looking really good. We'll get into that in a minute. A couple other rules. You have to be on this list at all to be one of the companies that you can draft. You have to have raised over $100 million. Fortunately, a lot of AI companies have raised well beyond $100 million.
It's a long list.
In a very short amount of time.
Many companies we have never heard of.
It's quite a long list. Many of them I haven't heard from since, but they have raised over $100 million. A couple other rules: you have to have had a core use of generative AI or other generative AI infrastructure use cases within your product. However, we're excluding certain industries as well. So if you're purely a biohealthcare industry AI provider, a defense provider, silicon chips infrastructure provider, such as CoreWeave or Lambda Labs, we're also excluding you from this draft. Robotics and AVs as well. We're not drafting Waymo. We're not drafting Cruise and other AV companies. And we're also excluding a couple companies that are just purely based in China. We don't seem to know much about them, and that makes it hard to draft them. And then, you have to have been founded within the last 10 years. So before, excluding a couple companies that maybe have a generative AI story, but they were founded before 2013 or 2014. And then lastly, this year, there will be a way to add and drop companies. So you can actually decide in advance of this podcast recording whether you want to drop one of your companies off of your team. You can pick up new companies off of waivers. If you've ever played fantasy football, you'll be familiar with that concept. And then we also will extend the teams a little bit this year. So we're keeping our teams from last year, but we're adding 2 slots each to the team. So you'll have opportunity to at least draft 2 more companies for your team. How's that sound, guys?
Great.
I
just want to emphasize, and I think you said this, but the goal here is to get the highest total sort of market cap on your team. It's not like a return on your investment. So there's definitely an incentive to buy highly marked companies if you think, there's still room to grow. But even if there isn't, it may be strategic to pick a maximally valued company. The other thing I want to say is play along at home. Comment on the post with your picks. Obviously, you have the advantage of not competing with anyone else, but there are still so many companies that it's a challenge to come up with what's going to be the total number of companies we'll each have by the end of this, James?
7.
Yeah, 7 each by the end of this.
So pick your 7 and let us know which companies you would draft.
Or let us know, what were our genius picks and what were our terrible picks. Who are you rooting for, also?
All genius.
Team James? Yeah.
Newcomer subscribers are probably rooting for Newcomer.
Are they? I don't know.
Maybe they're all rooting against Newcomer. You never know. Could be a hate watch.
Revenge for scooping their fundraise.
What else do we need to cover? Anything else? All right. So a lot of rules, but we know there are a lot of nerds on here who want to make sure understand the strategy behind it and follow along very closely. So those are the rules. And now we get to the fun part and make our picks. Give it a listen. This episode is presented by Brex, the financial stack that founders and VCs can truly bank on. Imagine what your founders could do with their runway if they had a banking solution that had no minimums, no transaction fees, and 20 times the standard FDIC protection. Plus, they could earn an industry-leading yield while maintaining access to funds whenever needed. Brex simplifies financial services for startups so they can focus on building. Connect your portfolio to the financial stack that 1 in 3 U.S. venture-backed startups already use. Check out brex.com/banking-solutions.
The draft started out strong with a big pick from Eric, OpenAI, but he had to take a handicap on that. So he had to sacrifice
to guarantee that I would have the right to pick OpenAI, and I've been extremely validated by that already.
Yeah, so you took a $75 billion handicap off of your own total score. And by the way, this draft ends in November 2028. However, you, Eric, have also had some exits or semi-exits, both Inflection and Character AI semi-exited. We've decided to award you their valuations at the time of exit. Do you want to talk about that nuance for the listeners?
A key subplot of this year has been sort of the licensing deals, acqui-hire, somewhat exit. Basically, leadership at a company gets bought, shareholder, the acquirer pays the company, the startup, a big licensing fee. Then the startup uses that money to buy out the preferred shareholders, basically wiping the cap table. So it's the company still exists, but the investors got paid out and the leadership's gone. And so, I think the logic we came to agree on was that these were effectively exits for the investors, and therefore you should be able to cash out. So the licensing deals, Character, which I think we're putting at 2.5 billion, Inflection for me,
around 1.4.
What, James, you had Adept?
Yeah, at around $1 billion.
Yeah, and I guess in the abstract you could rebuy those companies, though we've also put in the requirement that companies need to have raised $100 million. Are we allowing rebuys of these? I'm never going to rebuy any of them, to be clear.
I don't think we should. I don't think we should allow rebuys because, like you said to us, I believe reported that the cap tables were kind of completely wiped out. So these companies the new shells of the former companies haven't really raised $100 million yet. So they're no longer part of the draft. Your other companies are doing quite well. So yeah, OpenAI reportedly raised $157 billion valuation. Glean raised an E round at a $4.5 billion valuation. Mistral also raised a B round, around $6 billion. So your total, including the $75 billion handicap, is roughly around $100 billion right now, 96.4. So you are way ahead of Max and I. Max had Databricks, Pinecone, Cohere, Modular,
James
and
is
Imbue.
refusing to value Databricks because it hasn't raised a new round since. But Databricks is an extremely valuable company, so Max is worth at least half of what I am. There's no way.
Yes. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate the defense of my honor here because the spreadsheet says my total value is 5 compared to your 96. So yeah, it's I was is this just going to be a dunk on Max Fest? Because Databricks still looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, definitely.
You need to get a new fundraise to get points on the board. But I agree, you're still holding strong. But yeah, your only points on the board would be Cohere, which raised the Series D. And came in at about 5.5 billion. And then my own team, I have Hugging Face, Anthropic, AI21 Labs, Replit, and Adept. As we said, Adept kind of exited at that 1 billion mark. And then Anthropic also did a fundraise in the last year that valued it at a 18.4 billion post-money valuation, putting my current score around 19.4 billion. So
and
yeah,
I
still have some. I think
30 to 40, so you'll get a boost.
Yeah, I was going to say James and I are kind of in the same category of like we're around 40 probably, because I think Databricks is probably around 40 and Anthropic's probably around 40.
Yeah,
so
Max,
Eric is crushing us at 90
didn't...
for sure.
Yeah,
sure. My roster's pretty weak. I went with the stars and scrubs strategy, except I only have one star, and that is Databricks, something like 40 to 50. I have Pinecone, Cohere, which hung in there at a 5.5, as James said. I have Modular, and I have Imbue. The scrubs are still scrubbing pretty hard, so there may be some foreshadowing about...
I may do some
dropping.
You interviewed on stage, which was perhaps a mistake.
I did go with a personal connection vibes-based approach. It may not have panned out, but I got Databricks, so I'm arguably still in second place, and I will take that.
All right, let's go into the drops. So, Eric, you freed up 2 spaces already with your inflection and character sales. Are you dropping any other companies?
I'm not. I'm not dropping anything else. I like, obviously, OpenAI, Glean, Mistral. I want to say one thing. I was very bullish, I think, presciently on OpenAI. I just wrote a bear column on OpenAI at 157. Max and James are not giving me a way to somehow sell my current markup. So there's I would never drop OpenAI.
You exit or IPO.
But I'm not allowed to lock in where it is and then sort of be short. I still
so you're saying
it's going to go up. I think
you would do
that.
Up again. Okay.
I think it'll get marked up.
Got it. But you're just
40, $50 billion, but I'm skeptical beyond that.
Got it.
I would say if with OpenAI, this may be a future debate, but every new round is getting increasingly bizarre in terms of structure.
Right, I know. Exactly.
I talked to some investors in the OpenAI round, and they're like, "Well, we get paid back in 2 years if they don't grow fast enough."
Exactly.
It's starting to become like a sort of debt-like structured security.
I know. If I could cash out for the money it's worth, I would be tempted, but I want to be able. Given I'm keeping it with pride, and I'm going to pat myself on the back if I all with it.
All right. Well, if the next OpenAI round involves collateralized obligations or something, we need to start talking about what a valuation even is at this point.
Right.
So whatever.
There's a lot of nuance in this VC game, I think, is what we've discovered from this draft.
Who knew?
Who knew? Thought it was easy.
Yeah.
Okay. Max, are you dropping anyone from your team?
I am dropping some of my scrubs.
Sad.
I will, RIP Max's team. I was honestly considering dropping everyone except Databricks, but I decided to dial it back from that approach. I will stick with Cohere, given I'm starting to believe that, the markup. Also, I think foundational models are becoming state level assets, and potentially Canada will want their own foundational model, safe superintelligence might be Israel's foundation model. So I'll keep Cohere, and I will keep Modular because I still ride with my boy Chris Latner. It might not work out, but he's trying to create a new language for AI.
Okay.
Yeah. So I will be dropping Pinecone and Imbue. Pinecone I went kind of back and forth on, but the whispers in the VC circles I roll in quite regularly were not very positive. And
Imbue stole Volley's office, so there's a little bit
Imbue
of
also stole Volley's office,
which you think is a positive sign. They've
but
got
I think
a lot
we
of
can
money
say,
to
Eric,
throw around.
Outside of the bad blood on the office front, Eric, would you agree? Imbue, not a lot going on since I picked them.
I haven't heard much.
Haven't really heard much out of there
as much.
Yeah. So either they're working on the greatest takeover of the world strategy ever, or there's not a lot going on there. So I'll go with not a lot going on. I'm dropping those two: Pinecone, Imbue. I wish I could say it was fun, but it wasn't really. All right. And upward.
My team, I'm feeling good about Anthropic. As we've said, I think, even in the last year, we've seen a lot of kind of progress in terms of catching up to OpenAI in the closed model race, and a lot of success with their specifically their coding capabilities and enterprise adoption. So very excited about Anthropic. Hugging Face as well. Still, I would say core player in the space, so I'm keeping them. I was decided to drop AI 21 Labs. They essentially have an open source model, but it seems pretty behind other open source providers. And they, their claim to fame is a lot to do with context windows and kind of inference time. But I think that is getting a little bit commoditized, as we've discussed in earlier segments here. So dropping them. I was debating Replit, but I've decided to keep them on my team.
Oh,
Replit.
you're keeping Replit.
Yeah.
Okay, that was an interesting.
It was
give us the case for why you're keeping Replit here.
Yeah. So Replit, coding is hot. Replit, if I were starting as an engineer again, I would probably be using them. I think that it is the best way to get started coding. They have a vision of, empowering like billions of creators to create applications. I think it's a little bit of a long run or a high upside bet, and I still think it's the right. They have product market fit. They have customers. They have 20 million users or something. They're working on AI agents. They're really in the mix. I hear about them a lot. Even on X. So I think there's the best still some upside to be had there.
Good
but it was a tough call.
Out there.
Prominent on X. Yes.
Yeah.
What
do you think? Is that a bad take?
My contrarian take here, well, not contrarian at all, but contrarian to you apparently, is I think what we learned about the first year is we are not in the unicorn hunting business. We're in the decacorn hunting business.
Yes.
Because nothing shows up on this chart other than the $10 billion plus valuations, right? You guys, congratulations.
Like
you had exits.
Like
they're both like 1, 2, 3, 4 billion, whatever. Yeah. Exactly. Well, I think real VCs, if you're a seed VC, you can be in the unicorn hunting business. But we're basically growth stage VCs because we're 100 million minimum. So we're
able to get in at like
business.
$3 billion, $10 billion.
Yeah, right. So I'm just not sure. I'm not sure I see the path to decacorn for Replit.
How would you see that for modular? Explain the decacorn path for modular.
Okay, here's the decacorn case for modular. Modular replaces CUDA as the core language for how you code and gets bought by AMD or ARM or something as like the way you code on non-NVIDIA chips. And there's so much demand for getting off NVIDIA, not paying Jensen exorbitant fees, that there's huge value in having an alternate AI coding ecosystem. So there you go. That's what I believe. Look, I think it's a very asymmetric upside bet where it would probably be worth nothing in 90% of cases, but I like my 10% upside case. And I'd be interested in your 10% upside case for Replit. Give me the decacorn Replit.
Well, no. It's basically that becomes how everyone learns to code. The number of engineers in the world.
7. I mean, there's no, everyone codes in the world. Like the TAM
I think it becomes sure. You didn't let me finish. I think I think that let's say you have essentially hundreds of millions or billions of engineers in the world. It becomes the spreadsheet or something, right? Coding. Everyone became like a sort of an engineer in the PC era through spreadsheets. But maybe true application building becomes like a core part of people's knowledge workers' jobs in the future. And maybe it becomes a true platform for that. Or there's a bit more of like a consumer take, I guess, where somehow creating these applications becomes part of a social network type experience. But I think it's a stretch, but it's possible. I think it looks like we all have 4 spots to fill given our drops and our new slots. So we're gonna pick up exactly where we left off. The snake draft. I had the last pick of the draft last year with Adept at number 15. So it'll be my pick coming in hot with draft pick number 16. And then we'll snake draft from there to Max and Eric. My pick. I don't think this will come as much of a surprise, but I'm picking XAI, which has been rumored to be raising at a $40 billion valuation.
Did you give it an extra premium for being anti-woke AI?
Well, Eric really sold me that they were, they're going to take over the world. So Eric
really boosted.
Yeah.
it's a good
defend
pick.
your
I
obvious
think,
pick.
go
Ahead.
it's a good,
I think it's a good pick. I think they spun up, 100,000 H100s in the last 4 months, which Jensen himself said wasn't possible. But then, according to Elon, they've done it. They appear to be like trucking in gas powered generators to power this thing. Like, they're just going as fast as possible, I think, which is pretty compelling and kind of what you need to do to be a foundation model competitor in the environment today. So yeah, don't short Elon, I guess. And, they have
Unless
that.
It's
they
Twitter,
have that.
in which case you probably should have shorted Elon, but yeah.
That's true.
AI does feel like more of a hardware problem and an energy problem than like a
More
social networking problem. So
more in
I
his
think,
wheelhouse.
Yeah, right. I think,
And maybe XAI helps Twitter, right?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think or vice versa. I think it's kind of an interesting. I'm actually very intrigued by how that works from a business perspective. Like, because the current only product of XAI is this Grok chatbot that's available only in X, Twitter.
Yeah.
So I don't know how this looks as a partnership long term. Maybe they become the same company or something. But this feels like a good pick to me.
I think it's the obvious first pick. I think the short case is it's like the third best model right now, but the long case is Elon's good at bending the laws of physics, and AI is mostly a laws of physics problem in some ways with chips and energy,
recruiting and raising fundraising. Yeah, great pick.
Totally.
All
yeah,
right.
All right.
All right, Max, you're up next with the next pick of the draft.
I will take kind of the obvious second pick to set up Eric whining about how his OpenAI first pick screwed him for this redraft. I'll take Scale AI, which is far and away the second most valuable open slot on the board. They just raised at $14 billion. They provide data labeling services to a bunch of different AI companies. I think what's interesting about Scale is they are very polarizing in Silicon Valley. I would say a lot of people have joked for many years that they're just a sort of random third world worker, like Mechanical Turk business where they offload a bunch of menial tasks to people in cheap countries. But on the other hand, they basically 4x revenue in the last year, some crazy thing from 1 to 4 billion. And so if I'm getting at this at 3x revenue, I'm feeling pretty good. The lesson of the last draft is you gotta ride the horses that are winning, and this is a clear number 2 right now. So I'll grab Scale. Somewhat conflicted about whether or not it's a long-term multi-decacorn, but you can't not take the only other 10 billion plus.
They're the
valuation
data
draft.
piece of the AI puzzle, which we talked the least about, but could end up being super.
Yes, we haven't really weighed in on the take that data, quality of data is long run a huge piece of the puzzle, maybe equally or as important as chips and compute and scale and energy and so on, because there's a lot of garbage data out there, and especially if you just scrape the whole internet and you don't have good stuff, you maybe won't get a good AI, or same with imagery or video or whatever. So that's the Scale case. The Scale short case, as I said, is that oddly enough, its business might be very automatable by AI in some ways. So yeah, that's my take.
And we have the CEO joining us at the conference.
Yes, we have a CEO, and Eric, I'm sure we'll ask him some hard questions, so it'll be fun.
I'm excited. It'll be fun. I'm up.
Eric, you're up. Yes.
You get 2 picks.
Two picks. Okay. I think the first one is what you guys would pick. Partially hidden on this doc because it's valuation increase. I think it's only reported and not locked in, but I'm picking Perplexity.
Smart.
Yeah. I mean,
Bad pick.
highest chance of disrupting Google search. I do think a lot of investors are very excited about it. Even though, as a reporter, it gets me a little annoyed with their seeming story ripoffs. I do like the attribution philosophy and excited to see them continue to develop. I did not realize I was going to get 2 back-to-back.
Can I get a genuine Perplexity short case?
Can you give one, or
can I give one? Yeah, can I actually critique this pick?
While Eric picks his next pick,
While Eric thinks, I just think if you look at the data, like if you look at App Annie or you look at any of the open, data services that tell you how much usage Perplexity has, it's like shockingly small. It's like really, really not that popular. It's very popular among nerds on Twitter, which is a perfect overlap with venture capital. I know there's this hot take that it's going to disrupt Google or whatever. But most people are pretty just used to typing in the search box that's on their browser that's either on their iPhone or on their computer. And that's going to be Google forever and ever because they have the money to buy that box from Apple.
According to the information, by the way, they have 20 million ARR. Is that surprising based on what you have seen?
No, I mean, I think they probably have a couple million MAU, somewhere between 2 and 5, and you're monetizing those people, reasonably effectively, but not crazily effectively. So that's ballpark, yeah. So let's say they have 5 million MAU or whatever. Google has like 2 billion MAU or something, or I don't know. It's 1,000 times bigger or 500
and it's
times
free.
bigger. So.
I know what
and it's free. Yeah, so I just would say I'm not convinced the differential against Google's AI summaries or whatever is going to stay there for very long. A bunch of people are going to rip off their interface innovations, and I don't really see how they're going to get a distribution advantage. So yeah, I'm definitely short at whatever what's the latest valuation, like 10 or something.
It's reported 8 million.
8, yeah. I'm short at 8 for sure. I'm probably long at like 1 or I don't know, but I'm short at 8.
The next Google, we'll see.
No, I think that's an overrated take. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Eric, who are you picking?
I went all over the place. I certainly have companies down lower on the valuation list that I'm probably more amped about. I thought about Sierra, like customer support being a sort of a promising area where AI could actually get deployed. But just looking at my strategy, like we're going for big ones. You got to go with the guy who is the genius behind OpenAI that could either lead research at another company, could invent AGI. If he invents AGI, I'm going to win. So I'm going safe super intelligence. Ilya, I'm betting on you. And then obviously, Daniel Gross is, one of the most connected people in Silicon Valley these days, and he's a co-founder. That's what I'm going with.
Yeah. Yeah, for the record, I thought that was where you were going to say the obvious next pick was, because that's definitely who I would have taken over.
Interesting. Huh.
Why are you guys so excited about this company? I'm short.
You're short,
right?
I don't know. I guess as an owner of XAI,
you believe in dangerous super intelligence. You're like no. The super intelligence has to be dangerous to be valuable. Safe is no good.
I have a balanced, diversified strategy of having Anthropic and XAI.
Yeah, exactly. Save the world, kill the world. Who cares?
We can go safety
Make money.
Give us the short case. What's the short case? Yeah.
I just think that, I think that you're basically basing this off of a $1 billion valuation, and he can create a new foundation model, right? I think that's the only explanation for why this is important, and it just feels like he's so far behind.
All right, so my pro safe super intelligence take here to stand behind Eric is I think that these foundation models are becoming so expensive that they're borderline have to be nationalized in the next 2 to 4 years. And I think safe superintelligence is basically going to be Israel's national model. At which point, I don't know if how that impacts the valuation, and we can debate that a couple years down the road. But fundamentally, it's going to be a nation state level concern to have a really high quality model. And I think Ilya will probably be the flag bearer of Israel, which maybe was the AI 21 case for James a year ago, but they might have lost out to SSI. So that would be my pro case, and that's why I'm a fan of the pick.
All right, let's keep moving.
All right, Max, you're up with the next pick.
Well, Eric kind of foreshadowed this, that I think a solid option for the next pick is Sierra, which is ex-Salesforce CEO Brett Taylor started a AI kind of customer support AI company. I find customer support super boring. There's 250 of these fucking companies. I don't really see any obvious reason these guys are going to win because I haven't seen the actual product or compared them. But like any good VC, I'm just riding the heat of all the other hot VCs being in this company, and everyone I talk to in the biz is like, this is it, baby. Sierra. Yeah, exactly. Benchmark and Sequoia can't be wrong, baby. It's never lost me money before. So I'm going to freely admit I know almost nothing about why this is supposed to be the best of these 200 different customer support companies, and say, take me to the top, Brett Taylor. I love it.
Basically, you're just going with the VC cred.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
I believe in that philosophy. That was my Glean bet last time. Kleiner and Sequoia.
Totally worked.
All right. I will take the next pick of the draft. I guess I get 2 picks here. I think this will be maybe a slight surprise, but with the next pick, I'm taking 11 Labs.
Ooh.
Yeah. 11 Labs.
Yeah.
We are already a customer. They definitely have a lot of product market fit in this voice cloning and text-to-speech space. They seem to have been making moves, I think I alluded to earlier, buying companies that provide consumer applications so that you could, read articles with these generated voices. They've released a lot of new technologies, including most recently they announced kind of a new agent framework for voice AI applications. They also have a sound effects API. Yeah, they ship a lot of product. They have a lot of fans in the developer community. They're taking an eye towards some consumer applications. So I'm going with 11 Labs.
I'm short 11 Labs. I just, as a customer, I like the product. It also seems immensely replicable by the large cloud services. I think once Lena Khan is no longer blocking acquisitions, it will get bought by AWS or Google or Amazon or Microsoft.
All right. And with my next pick of the draft, I'm going to take Runway.
Man, all right, that was my next pick.
Really? I love them.
Yeah, you're
wow,
short.
fascinating.
Right. Okay.
You think that's a bad pick, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, he was the one at Cerebral Valley, New York, making promises that our own AI crowd didn't even believe. I don't know. And now they're sort of saying they're in like the video production business themselves. I'm very bullish on Adobe figuring out what creatives want and monetizing it well. Yeah, so no, I'm not.
I just think we're in the business of the decacorn hunting. Runway, the hype train is why I'm investing in them here. They said, we'd be creating Oscar-winning, fully feature-length movies, in 2 years or something. They told Max that on stage. I think there is a lot of high upside scenarios where video gen tools become like a much more interactive medium also, right? So if you could really generate video that's photorealistic and sort of in that low latency, you can create almost gaming use cases. There's a lot of like simulation type products they could build. And then there's consumer use cases, just, creator tools. So they do seem to be the leader in this important AI video space. We also haven't seen OpenAI launch Sora, even though that received a lot of, attention when they announced it. So
maybe
I don't know.
It's super expensive.
Yeah. Do you think Runway is just burning capital then? Or
I don't know that specifically. I'm just saying if all these models cost a ton, like video models sound like they're going to be like, so cost intensive.
True. Yes. And right now, I think, the main customers of Runway are like feature length Hollywood, production studios who are maybe like doing, a few like 1 second clip generations or something to like fill in part of their films. But I think that, as cost curves come down, it just opens up a lot of use cases. But yeah, if cost doesn't come down, then maybe it's a bad pick.
I like the asymmetric upside bet to take over the world plan. So I'm kind of in. Should I take the next pick?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, we're definitely getting into the harder part of the draft where I think you have to go a little more wild with a little crazier pick. I'm going to take Sakana AI from one of my VC referrals here. Said this is the hot thing. You should check it out. Apparently, they're literally trying to use AI to automate fundamental scientific discoveries, essentially. They're huge in Japan. I believe in basically the core mission that it is possible to make scientific breakthroughs with AI. And so, I don't know, that sounded like an asymmetric high upside bet, and I'm getting good buzz from the VC networks. And at this point, it's pretty hard to kind of dig through the draft. So, Sakana, welcome to the team.
Is it okay if I show my hand and sort of talk through the 4 and then pick 2?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
Yeah.
you're just
Giving
gonna
you guys intel.
leak ideas to us, so it's all good.
Yeah, maybe I won't.
No, come on.
Is it a podcast first or is it winning first?
Do it for the content, baby.
All right, I'm debating. Thesis 1 is like, man, we keep saying it's all about applications. We're bullish on coding. And the other big hyped application category is legal. So Codium is coding, Harvey is legal. Those would be applications. Cursor is very buzzy, but I'm not allowed to take it. They haven't raised $100 million. I met an interesting services legal startup whose name I'm blanking on. Sorry, guy. But I don't think they've raised enough money. So that would leave Harvey and Codium. Weights and Biases, I think, is a company that's done well in serving a lot of like the infrastructure layer and could be like a solid company. Listening to myself, I'm clearly excited about getting hits on coding and law. So I'm going to take Codium. I'm going to take Codium first and then Harvey second.
All right.
Reactions? What do you think?
What do you think of the Harvey controversy that? What do you think of the Harvey controversy that Harvey
there's that random tweet that is like vaporware. And you talk to some of the legal startups and they're like, we don't see him out there. But
I've talked to a couple lawyers and they're like, it's not that great right now. Now maybe you're like, I'm long models getting better, so it doesn't matter. They have a better sales force, yada yada yada. But
with both of them, I'm betting on the category without knowing a lot about the company.
Sure. You're just basically trying to grab the leader in a category you believe in. All right.
Exactly.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable thesis. I do think the buzz that Harvey is not that great seems to have some where there's smoke, there's fire kind of element to it from my research.
What makes you so sure that Codium is the leader in this category?
Who's my other option on this list?
Well, I don't know. I'm just wondering, like, what's the evidence of that? I guess
they just raised enough money to get on the list, I guess is what I'm saying.
Isn't Magic the same thing, kind of, or similar?
Magic, yeah.
And obviously Cursor hasn't raised enough, but Magic was like Daniel Gross's play into that space, right?
Yeah. I've heard of Codium.
Fair enough.
The end of the draft is tough, man. I think you're just grabbing ideas here.
Cognition is also coding, to be clear. Yeah, I could have taken them.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Cognition, yeah.
Poolside is coding. Source Graph is somewhat code related. There's just a lot of coding companies up here, so I was just curious. But why you went with Codium specifically? But it's all good. It's all good.
It's done. It's done is done.
All right, I will. It's done. What's done is done. The bottom of the draft is tough.
Max,
right.
Your last pick.
My final pick. I will take Hebia, which is sort of like Eric's legal thesis, but for Excel in some ways. It's sort of like the finance, like private equity, investment banking to some degree, whatever. Excel jockey AI, basically. I've heard very good things about the product. It has a super elite investor list with Peter Thiel and Andreessen and everything. And I actually talked to someone who worked there, and they were like, this is a pretty sick product. And I don't think they were just talking their own book. So yeah, Hebia, AI for Excel jockeys, which I was an Excel jockey 12 years ago. So that sounds pretty good to me.
Would never have considered that in my life.
It's the bottom of the draft. It's the bottom of the draft.
You got to take some sleepers. You got to have a dream.
All right, last pick of the draft, James.
Last pick of the draft. A lot of companies still on the board. So I'll walk you through some that I'm considering. Kind of a debate between, I guess, 3 companies here. Poolside, which I mentioned, is another AI-powered software development platform. They raised $500 million in a Series B this month, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Staggering quantity of money for player purposes.
Theoretically, for a foundation model around trained around coding.
Cool.
The other one on my list still, I think Eric mentioned them earlier. They do seem to be kind of a leader in this developer space where if you wanted to use open source models and do fine tuning and host them and have the infrastructure for that, they seem to be one of the leaders in that space. And then the last one would be very much a flyer, which is just World Labs, which is Fei Li's startup, which just raised about $100 million in July at a $5 billion valuation. So, there's some opportunity there. But I think similar to my bear case on safe superintelligence, I think I will be rolling that one out. And in terms of going after that sort of software space, I think I'm going to have to pick poolside.
Oh, wow.
Lots of money. They could sell for $1 billion,
exactly.
just based on the money.
Just for the cash. Just to get
to
the
lock
cash,
in the money,
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they're working on. I hope it's worth a lot.
High upside.
High upside. Should we do some bring out your dead? Any picks that we
think you should have picked?
I should have picked. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm shocked you didn't pick Suno, James. You're just banging on Suno like every weekend.
Suno's a great product.
I thought you were gonna grab some Suno stock.
I'm very nervous about the music industry. Having worked with the music industry,
having worked with the music industry, you have some.
When do we
questions
get to
about...
start picking volley in this? Like, no, you haven't raised
next round. We haven't raised
next
enough.
round.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
I think Magic is interesting. I like that as another coding pick. My VC Whisper source hated together.
Oh yeah,
So
okay. I'm glad I didn't go together then.
Yeah,
Man,
he was like, I think
feel like you
together is
guys
a zero.
Max, you're behind, so you're doing more
high upside
research now. I feel like last time I did a lot of research, and this time I sort of just like
you're like,
for it.
I'm winning. I'm coasting.
I'm winning.
I'm not. I'm not sure about these also ran kind of models we have here. I think Pika is the third best video model, so I'm a little concerned about that.
Cognition's interesting with Devin,
but
I guess seems to be less of a foundation model play and more of this agentic play, but maybe the hype has died down a little bit.
It is amazing how just in 6 months the hype cycles are just changing so rapidly that stuff that was just crazy hot, at our last conference or 2 conferences ago now feels like, oh, that's tired. They haven't done anything in 8 months or something. And it's like, okay, well, the cycle time in the AI industry is just ludicrously short right now. Yeah. Cool. Should we wrap up our picks?
All right.
Go ahead.
Okay, just let's compile this quickly. So, Eric, your team now consists of OpenAI. You banked some money from Inflection and Character, and you continued to ride with Glean and Mistral, and then you added 4 picks to your team. Perplexity, great pick, I think, but risky, as Max said. Safe Superintelligence.
Safe pick.
safe pick.
A safe and super intelligent pick.
Yeah, safe super pick. Codium and Harvey. How are you feeling, Eric, about your team?
I'm happy, honestly. I think I wish I could have gotten XAI, but given what was available, I'm happy with my picks.
Max, you dropped a few folks from your team. You kept Databricks, Cohere, and Modular, and then you added Scale AI, high valuation play there.
Mm-hmm.
You added, let's see, sorry,
Sierra,
Sakana,
and
Hebbia. Yes,
I like things that end in A, apparently.
and start with S.
Start with S.
Yes. And then, how are you feeling about your team?
I mean, I'm feeling better than last year. I'm glad I banked Scale, so I've got some valuation gains.
You still have Databricks,
coming in.
right?
I still have Databricks. I still have Scale. I've got some valuation. I still think I'm basically running the Stars and Scrubs play here, which didn't really work last time. So other than again just Databricks. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm a little less optimistic perhaps than I was last time around.
And then my team, I have Hugging Face, Anthropic, Replit. I banked some cash from the Adept Amazon deal, and I'm adding XAI with the highest valuation on the board right now. Adding Runway, adding 11 Labs, and adding Poolside. A lot of like sort of foundation models, developer tools, I think with Anthropic and Poolside getting that kind of coding play, but also Anthropic has one of the best, I would say, coding LLMs right now with Claude. But I am very bullish on that. That is a valuable use case of this technology. So riding the developer tooling ecosystem.
You're running like the murderer's row of companies I think are overrated, basically.
Brutal.
Which probably means I'm wrong, and one of them will be like a $200 billion company. So
yeah, you only need one necessarily, right?
You're just naming them off. You're like Poolside, Replit, 11 Labs. Like what was the other one? Like Hugging Face. Anthropic is great, for the record. Anthropic is immaculate. But you just got a lineup of like Twitter memes that I hate, basically.
Just because you feel like they're overvalued, or
I think overvalued or just raise too much money in the case of Poolside with no product, or I think the product has a sort of lack of large market.
Would either of you pick Codium or Harvey? Were they on your list anywhere?
Harvey would be on my potential.
Harvey was on my list. Harvey on your hater list.
Yeah. Harvey was probably on my hater list. Yeah. So
in some ways, you want the company to be a little polarizing. You want people to be thinking about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is it
they're top of mind.
Now? I bet the Max anti-portfolio is better than my actual portfolio. So don't worry. It's like I need the inverse of my hater list will probably do better than my actual.
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm still like really exposed to OpenAI more than anything. It's like,
yeah. Maybe the whole industry is. I mean,
that's been the question throughout the events. Just is it really all just about OpenAI? Still to be seen.
Right.
One update from our overrated, underrated episode, a minor correction on one of the revenue figures. Max,
I would say a major correction.
A major correction, but we got the source. We relayed what the source said accurately.
All right,
it was outdated.
All right, to make this clear, the Information Special Pro subscription told us that Anthropic was making around $100 million in revenue per year. Apparently, CNBC reported that Anthropic is in fact closing in on making $1 billion in revenue a year, which is quite a bit larger, and is growing its revenue at basically 10x year on year. So that 100 may have been accurate, 9, 10, 11 months ago. Luckily for James and Eric, they both already look super smart, and they said Anthropic was underrated.
We love it. It's much smaller revenue than it actually has.
Yes. Max, luckily, gets to look super dumb when he said Anthropic was very overrated, because I would say 10x year-on-year revenue growth absolutely justifies a crazy 1/3 of OpenAI valuation. Interestingly, I stand by my take that their consumer app growth is not that impressive. I think it was 20% in the last quarter, because it looks like basically all the revenue comes from their API and their sort of developer tools.
All right, so that's a minor update on our overrated, underrated episode, keeping ourselves honest, and we'll let you know if there's any new information that comes to light after these episodes. And reach out to us. You can email eric@newcomer.co, probably. That's me personally, and send me your takes, comment. We want more comments. Comment on the post with your own opinions, and certainly happy to. We have very smart listeners, so would love to hear where we got it wrong. Reach out anytime. Thanks so much.